Hey, this is part 3. Today we're going to do the bevels on this. And beveling is putting the triangle shape on the blade to form your cutting edge. So in this episode I'll show you how to put the distal taper. It's all part of the beveling, it's all part of the drawing out. We start at the tip and work our way back towards the shoulders. Okay. What I like to do is put it on the corner of the anvil and put it at just a tiny angle, probably 10 to 15 degrees, not much. Scrape the scale off, because if you pound it into the blade, it leaves little pits that are going to bust it out. You just sit there, start at that tip, and then every hit, just work a little bit backwards. We're trying to push the metal back, and it's going to deform a little bit, so you got to flip it over and work both sides at the same time, or your blade will end up being all sorts of different directions. The other side to try to keep it as straight as I can. Just remember, tilt it a little bit and just pound down and towards the center of the blade. Another process of doing this is we're forming a center line that goes down the length of the blade. I'm going to flip it over. Work this side just a little bit. See how that center line is starting to form? We're going to try to get it to about halfway, and then I'm going to fuller it, which means it's known as the blood groove, but it's going to be a double-sided little hollow channel. Save on weight, makes your blade a little bit wider, and it's an interesting effect. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of a correction, but if you get a little indent like that, it means you haven't pounded it thick, or pounded the bevel down, excuse me. So you can tell when it starts to get warped. Like that. See, it's starting to turn a little bit, so that's time to flip it over. These tongs aren't biting right. It's getting a little bit too cold to work, so back to the forge. Part of doing this, you just got to go back and forth, back and forth. Make sure you work both sides. I left it in the forge a little bit too long, so wire brush it, get that scale off. By doing that, you're saving yourself a lot of trouble later on, and you'll see. Now I gotta switch tongs. That's why you see blacksmiths with hundreds of pairs of tongs, because they make ones for each job. What you do is squirt water on your anvil, get it all over your hammer. This is called wet forging. It works really well. It blows off all the scale. It's loud, just so you know. But lots of water in there. Japanese smiths do this a lot. Okay, well, no, but it really does a great job of getting the scale off. Make sure that anvil face is clean, because you do not want to pound the scale into the face. See, it's coming along quite nicely. We're getting that center line pushed towards the center of the blade. Both sides. Great example of equal and opposite forces. All right, here we go. And your blade will curve like that. If it does that, just flip it over. Start beveling the other side. Maybe just a little bit too far gone. anvil. And check it for straightness every once in a while. All right. And just rack the bevel, and this will take a while. This is gonna be my last video until I get towards the end, so I can actually focus and work. But you're just gonna keep doing it, and slowly work your way back to where the shoulders are. Flip it over, work the other side. Establish how far back I want them. I always like to leave a little bit of what's called a ricasso right back by the shoulders. So what I'm going to do next is throw it back in the forge, and I'm going to pound the edges down with a really light hammer, like this little tiny ball peen, just to get that edge as thin as we can. 10 minutes of the forge is more than 2 hours of the file. It'll save you a lot of time, trust me. String protectors on, because when I'm doing the wet forging, like the Japanese do, sometimes it's a little pop and sometimes it's a loud bang like a gunshot, and I jump and turn inside out. But if I have these on, I'm not such a pansy. So, a little water on the anvil, a little water on the hammerhead, pull the steel out, and I'm going to take this, put it on the edge of the anvil, and just tap on the very edge. I'm trying to draw it down to make it as thin as possible. This also helps straighten the blade. Add a little more water on the hammerhead. Okay, back to the forge. Water on the hammerhead. It blows the slag off. It causes a little steam explosion. Flip it over. And like always, I've got it just up at about a 10-degree angle. And this hammerhead's a little bent. This is meant for making bevels on a blade. You just tap that edge down. You want to make that as thin as you possibly can. You gotta try to keep it straight too. Okay. You can always tell the thickness of your edge because you'll see a little high spot on one or the other, and that's when you try to locate it on the anvil and just lightly tap it down. It's just love taps. You don't need any more. And just keep checking your work, You want to make sure those edges are straight. Still a little bit of a high spot here. All right. So I'm calling that good for this episode. I've brought the center line about halfway where I wanted it on both sides. And then I left a flat spot where I'm going to use this fuller. We're going to stick this in here between and just go back and forth and pound a little blood groove down to about there on the blade. Just a little one, not too much, because it saves on filing. I'm very lazy. So then once we're done with the fuller, we're going to anneal it, and then we're going to file it. I'll show you how to do that.